I'm going to talk about some different ways to think about stress. I'm sure everybody has not gotten rid of all of their stress that is still hanging around. And so I wanted to first just start by saying that stress is normal. We need stress to function. It's physiologically normal. And it's the brain's way of getting our response to stress is the brain's way of getting us to react really quickly in dangerous situations under threat. So if you're standing in the crosswalk and there's a car coming to you, you don't stare at the car and think about, should I move? How fast is it coming? Like your brain just goes into action, sends blood to the right places, and makes you run across the street. So that's the purpose of stress. Stress is also a cycle. So stress is not something that we are meant to carry around. It's something that is supposed to escalate and then resolve. The problem is in modern days, stress for a lot of us doesn't go away, mostly because we just have ongoing stressors that we don't have a really good way of resolving. And so the stress cycle physiologically is actually supposed to be completed. You're supposed to experience stress, you deal with whatever that threat is or that thing that's causing stress, and then the stress resolves. So the cortisol spikes in your brain and then it goes away. But if we don't resolve stress, then we have those stress hormones that just keep cycling. And that's really bad for us. It's bad for your heart. It's bad for your health overall. It's bad for how you feel. And so it would be great if we could just figure out how to get rid of stress, how to say, oh, well, that thing that's stressing me out, I just have to figure out how to fix it. And I think that's what a lot of people do. They figure out how to make work better. I am a coach. I coach primarily physicians and leaders in healthcare. And a lot of what we talk about is how do we, how can they make their patient load smaller? How can they get their charts done more quickly? Or for those who are leaders, how can they deal with difficult conversations? Like all of the things to manage stress better. But there are just some forms of stress that we can't get rid of. A lot of the folks that I coach, they're leaders and they can't make the budget bigger. They can't personally figure out how to pay their faculty and their staff more. They're just going to have to figure out ways to deal with stress. So I am not going to say I came up with this. I did not come up with this framework around relieving the stress cycle, but I really like it. It was from a book called Burnout, and it's 7 ways to complete the stress cycle. So the idea behind this isn't just to make yourself feel better when you feel stress. It's actually giving your body a physiological way to complete the stress cycle. And it's doing it on an ongoing basis for those of us who experience stress on a regular basis. And I'm just kind of curious because I'm assuming people have stress. Some of you may have found ways to deal with your stress already, but can you guys just say a couple of things that feel like just kind of that ongoing stress in everyday life? I know for me, it is a lot of stress around, I have a small business and it's just being a small business owner. I don't have any help. I do all of mine, my IT person, I'm my own HR person, I'm my own bookkeeper. And so it's just kind of the stress of running a business that's always there. Completing the stress cycle is not about dealing with the stressors. That is its own separate thing. And if there are a way to deal with the stressors, like severing ties with people who are not following through on their obligations, great. But it really is about thinking about what the body actually needs to experience every day to be physiologically healthy. And so there are 7 things that we can do to do that. And I'm going to pass this around. And it was interesting. I also was curious about, what does the Lord tell us about how we should manage ourselves? If we turn to him, what might he say about this? And so on the first page I'm going to hand out to you are the different kind of categories of how you can physiologically resolve your stress cycle on your own every day. And then on the second page, look to see just like, what does scripture say about these things? Like, can I check it in scripture to see if these are things? Because there's a lot of self-help stuff out there, right? And there's a lot of people reading all these books to fix all these things in our lives. And if we can first turn to what is like the ultimate self-help book, looking to the Lord to help us, and how does he instruct us to help us, then that seems like the best place to start. So these are scripture that I thought really fit that well. And so I'll just quickly go through these, because what I really want us to be able to do in at least with the last 15 minutes is to think about a couple of things, either work related or just in life in general, that are feeling like stresses that you don't have easy resolution around, that are just kind of those things that are hanging out. And then figure out a couple of these that might be useful for you. So, and I have since I discovered this book, I've been over the last several years intentionally trying to address each of these areas. And some seasons, some are more available than others. And so just as you look through this, don't think that you have to do every single thing. It's what's available to you in the season, what the Lord makes available to you. And so one easy one that you can do on your own at every moment is breath work. And so I do a lot of breath work with my clients, and there's different types of breath work that you can do. But really it is just breathing deeply, intentionally through your whole body and kind of setting yourself in quiet time to do that. And ideally, the exhalation should be longer than the inhalation for relaxation and to calm your central nervous system down. Moving your body, like any way that you move your body. If you're like me, I sit in front of the computer on Zoom all day long, or I'm writing, or I'm in front of a computer hunched over. And so I schedule time in between every session that I do to get up and move around. I try to think about moving around. I work out, pretty regularly just because I know physically moving my body, I can actually feel my stress kind of melt as I move my body. I can also feel my body really hurting right now because I went for a hike in the green belt. So move your body with care when you move your body. But anything that's accessible to you, move your body around. Connecting with friends your teaching today was perfect. Like connecting, we do life together. We're meant to do life together. And so I think that the amount of peace and just feeling connected to other people when I'm intentionally paying attention to that is something that I think the Lord has called us to do, that also has the benefit of relieving your central nervous system. But just other things like getting creative. It doesn't mean that you have to be an artist, doesn't mean you have to be a basically professional ballroom dancer, but just getting creative, doing things that use different parts of your brain, even if it's just like cooking a meal that's different than you've made before, like doing something to use your brain in a different way. So these are all different ways. And again, this is something that you can do every day. And so it's not necessarily, I had a stressful event, let me go and call a friend and see if they'll eat with me so I can see if my stress will go down. This is a way to build in available ways to have both connections to things that you can do, you don't have to pay for, you can just do on your own, relieve your stress cycle, that allow your body to get to a physiologically normal state, but also allow us to think about, what has the Lord offered us? What resources has He given us to manage and take care of our bodies?